Welcome everybody to another episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy Will Royal. How you doing today, Will?
The usual Thursday night. I got the Tigers on the TV. Got a good slate of college football coming up, and after what I witnessed last week, we better see improvements with Alabama. If not, next week's going to be even worse than what we saw the other day.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Hey, but we do got my guy Cooper Green Bean Neal out here. What's up, Coop? How you doing today, man?
I'm surviving and thriving. I'm glad to be here.
Hey.
Green bean is a very nice way to describe me, though. I'll take that compliment. It don't happen very often, but I'll
Hey,
take it.
like I always say, when I always talk about you on either Jack's podcast or here, hey man, you in the corner, it could be automatic. Ain't
It's
gonna lie.
lights out. It's either lights out or it's Brick City. So it's one or the other. There's no in between.
Yeah. So Coop, tell us a little bit about yourself, your college football fandom and all that good stuff.
All right, so obviously you can see the jacket. I'm a huge Ole Miss fan. Been an Ole Miss fan since 2007. I'm loving what I'm seeing this season. There's still a lot to admire about this team. They still leave a lot out there as well. But been an Ole Miss fan all my life. But girlfriend's an Ohio State fan, so I also am by association have to root for the Ohio State Buckeyes. But they don't play very many teams, so I don't have to tune in too often. But I do have to support them.
Yeah, I know last week was a little shaky. You know, that Chicago win was pretty bad.
Killing them.
Yeah. I saw,
Yeah, it
I
was
saw
torture.
yeah, I saw the kicker before the game. He did some kick and the ball went straight down like it was a wall right in front of it. I was like, Jesus, this is going to be a long game for both teams.
Exactly, and I sat there the entire time because obviously I had to sit through the entire game because Ole Miss was on a bye week. So I had no excuse to change the channel this day, and so we're just sitting there watching the game. And for some ungodknown known reason, Ryan Day just decided he just wanted to continue trying to throw the ball downfield, and I'm like, it is a torrential monsoon. Just run the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get into this first game. We got two ranked opponents, Pac-12. We have number 25 Washington going against number 6 Oregon. Oregon is a 13 and a half point favorite for this game, and our boy Michael Penix Jr. is the starting quarterback for Washington with 260 for 391 yards for 3,232 passing yards with 23 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 2 rushing touchdowns. On the other hand, we have Bo Nix with 200 for 273 with 2,040 495 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 456 rushing yards with 13 rushing touchdowns. Honestly, this game, I don't think it's going to be close. Oregon has looked hot all year, except for the first game against Georgia. Bo Nix is playing phenomenal. He has 23 passing touchdowns, like I said, with 13. Well, no, yeah, 22 passing touchdowns with 13 rushing touchdowns, which is crazy. Being a dual threat quarterback that he is, a lot of people have him going high in these mock drafts, and a lot of people have him as a Heisman dark horse. But we will see on this game. Will, how do you feel about this game, man?
So right now, Oregon has the best chance of a Pac-12 team making it to the playoffs since Washington did in 2015 or 2016. At least that's just my personal opinion right now. Because USC and UCLA still have to play each other, and the winner of that's going to end up playing Oregon in Pac-12 championship.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this later in the show, but Bo Nix currently sitting at the 6th best possible Heisman odds, and he's been having a quiet good year. We kind of wrote him off after he left Auburn, but it's clear to us he wasn't a problem. It was just poor coaching done down there, and again, love that. But Bo Nix is like reestablished himself, and seeing his coach Dan Lanning possibly linked to the Auburn job kind of says a lot about what's going on up there. So I'm taking Oregon in this. Like I think they are going to cover because this is a big rivalry game, and at Autzen, they're gonna excuse me, they're gonna it's gonna be a complete control of the game. They're 77% chance of winning, and I just think Oregon has like a really good shot with this. And if the cards fall right in their spot, they're gonna make playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Depending on this next game that we'll get to in a second. But Coop, how do you feel about this game, man?
Yeah, so Oregon is running a 19 home win streak coming into this game. So obviously at home they're really good, but they've also been incredible since that just absolute butt whooping in that first game to Georgia. But who hasn't lost to Georgia? They did it to Tennessee this past week too. So like obviously Georgia's clearly a good football team, but Oregon has proven that they are as well. Since 2000, they're 16-4 against Washington. And like y'all have already mentioned, Bo Nix really written off since Auburn. I mean, he did not look great in his few years at Auburn, and a lot of that had to do with the coaching. A lot of that had to do with just the scheme, and just obviously the opponents didn't do very well because I mean he played an SEC opponent game one and didn't look too hot. But I think Oregon's probably going to win this game like 45-28. I think Penix and them have had a few. They've been up and down all season. They even got pretty high in the top 25 for a little bit there, and then they've just kind of been up and down the entire rest of the way. And I think Oregon is the only legitimate shot for the Pac-12 to be in the playoffs. I think they're the only team that has a chance because sitting at 12-1 potentially with a Pac-12 champion, I don't see how the committee would say, "Hey, we can't put them in." So I think Oregon is the only shot for the Pac-12, and getting a big win over a top 25 team this Saturday will do a lot for that resume.
Yeah. I a lot of people hate on the Pac-12, but I kind of like it. I feel like there's a lot of exciting teams historically. There's a lot of good teams that come out the Pac-12, but people don't really watch it because it's West Coast, and the time difference is all over the place, and most people either drunk and tired or out partying on a Saturday night. So I actually like the Pac-12, but yeah, they get to hate every once in a while too. Let's go to this next game.
Yeah, so we're gonna go from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 on the next game and the college game day location of this week, and that is Austin, Texas, as the 18th ranked Longhorns are taking on the number 4 and current playoff holder, TCU Horned Frogs. Texas is actually a 7-point favorite and a 73% chance of winning, according to ESPN. Breaking it down, Max Duggan is 161 for 244 with 2,400 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, along with just about 300 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Versus Quinn Ewer, who is 100 for 173, 1,300 yards, 13 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Obviously, we have to put into consideration Quinn Ewers did miss some games because of his injury against Alabama, but I'm still believing the hype with TCU. Apologies to my family because half of them went to Texas, but I think TCU is too high right now to be messed with, and Texas is known to choke in situations like this. Although they did beat Oklahoma 49-0, bring out the pack.
The big game boomer pack.
But I'm taking TCU in a very close game. And it's going to be a classic Big 12, no defense type of game. It's going to come down to the last 2 minutes. And I think TCU will score in that minute, and then their pressure will be too much for Texas, and they'll collapse. And TCU will go on the 10-0.
Yeah. Honestly, you already know who I'm going, Will. I've been riding the TCU train all year. Go Frogs. I was down there this weekend. It was pretty lit against Texas Tech, and last week they didn't really struggle. They struggled like the first quarter, but most of the season they've been struggling the first half and shown that they're a second half team. But this week, I feel like they could start off strong and get under Quinn Ewers' skin and probably win by a good like 2-3 touchdowns. But even though ESPN has Texas as a 73% favorite to win this game, I know it's a home game for them, but TCU has looked really good this year. So I'm going with TCU. Coop?
Yeah, so TCU has gotten up for every big game they've played this year. Like you said, they've been a second half team, but they still find ways to win. First year under Sonny Dykes, who has changed his offense dramatically. And their previous head coach is Gary Danielson, who is now the defensive coordinator for Texas. But like y'all said, Big 12 does not associate defenses with any of their gameplay. Since 2012, TCU leads the series 7-3. And like we were just talking about with Oregon, I do think Big 12's only chance to see a playoff contender is if TCU rides this out. and becomes the Big 12 champion. The turnovers, I think, will be crucial in this game. I know we joke all the time about defense with the Big 12, but TCU is a +7 in the turnover column. Max Duggan, you said it, has 2 interceptions the entire year. They do not turn him over. I think if TCU controls this game the way they've controlled every other game, yes, Texas whooped Oklahoma. Well, guess what? TCU almost put 68 on them. So, like, I think both of these teams can score, but I do think TCU's offense is just that much more capable. But I got TCU 42-38. I do think Sark needs this game a lot, but I think TCU is going to edge them out just because I think Sonny Dykes is a better head coach.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one. This is probably TCU's last big game other than their rivalry game against Baylor. But yeah, I'm loving that pick, Coop. You know, we're loving you out here in the DFW with that pick. If y'all don't know,
Yes, sir.
me and Coop really agree on a lot of stuff. Even with your Sam Pittman and Arkansas beating Alabama this year, I love that pick, man. But it didn't.
Yeah,
It didn't happen. But I like the pick.
it's all right. It didn't age well for me, but I'll still ride with it. I got to root for Arkansas this week because I need them to beat LSU.
That's Jack in the background.
Yeah, no, the Arkansas pick ain't aged well for me, but I need them to beat LSU so Ole Miss got a chance to be in that SEC championship game.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Don't know if it's gonna happen. We're missing KJ. That's the only reason this game wasn't on this slide. Because we're missing our starting quarterback. But we do have a group of 5 team, 2 group of 5 teams, a ranked matchup between UCF number 22 versus number 17 Tulane, and it looks like the odds are pretty close. They have Tulane as a 1.5 favorite because they're the home team. You have John Rye Plumlee, a transfer from Ole Miss, with 139 for 216 with 1,883 passing yards, 11 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 532 rushing yards with 7 touchdowns against Michael Pratt, Tulane's quarterback, with 142 for 213, 1,843 passing yards, 14 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 251 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns. It looks like a pretty close game. This game, we could see this game again when it comes to the AAC championship, the 2 best teams in the AAC, or we could see Cincinnati sneak in there and probably take it to play the winner of this game. But honestly, I don't know. UCF they've looked good most of the season, besides the few games that they've lost. And Tulane, they've been on the roll with 1 loss this season. I'm just to let you know, Coop, me and Will have a bet for the end of the year. Our pick'ems. Whoever wins, the loser has to buy the other team's merch and sing the fight song and post it on YouTube. So this this is a hard pick because I'm down 1 game this week, and I don't know what Will's picking. But to be honest, I should have had Will pick this game first. But I'm gonna go with Tulane. It's a home game. It's in New Orleans. Hey, Bourbon Street might be popping after this game. Who knows? So I'm gonna go Tulane. Will, who do you have, man?
So looking at it like this, Tulane is a 1.5 favorite on the bets, but UCF is a 52% chance of winning on ESPN. And like you said, John Reese Plumlee is been, after coming off from Ole Miss, he's sort of seen improvement under Gus Malzahn at UCF. He is the leading passer and rusher. Which doesn't really say a lot about UCF's running ability. And I think Tulane is going to have that covered, and TJ Spears is having a really good year with 745 yards and 10 touchdowns. So I'm taking Tulane as well on this one.
Okay. I'm safe.
I think it's going to be overwhelmingly Tulane in this one because they've been playing really good football.
Yeah.
And I think they are going to be the group of 6 representative. I think it's the Cotton Bowl this year. Last I saw, they're going to play LSU in the Cotton Bowl, which doesn't make sense. They just play them in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I'm saying they should play in the Sugar Bowl. That would be home field advantage for Tulane. But at the same time,
and LSU, you saw how many fans were down there for the LSU National Championship a couple years ago. So, but yeah, in summary, I'm taking Tulane in this one.
Yeah. Hey, Coop, who you got, man?
Man, so yeah, y'all mentioned my boy John Ross Plumlee. I love John Ross Plumlee a lot. Obviously, being an Ole Miss fan, he was a great hype man for the team, and honestly, I wish he got a chance to play quarterback this year because I've always loved John Ross Plumlee. Um, they've only played 11 times, which was kind of wild to me when I was looking it up. 9-2 overall record between them, and in favor of UCF. So this has been a dominated series by UCF. But Tulane has come on the scene this year. They're playing incredible. Their defense is really what's been allowing them to go on this win streak, like y'all talked about. They have an incredible passing defense. So the biggest question I have going in this game is, can UCF find offensive rhythm between a ground attack and a passing attack? I don't know if they can, but I do trust that UCF's defense, who has also played really well, can stop Tulane's offense that has not been incredibly dynamic. And obviously, y'all know I got to ride with my boy John Ross Plumlee. So I'm picking different than y'all. I got UCF edging them out 24-21, probably like a final field goal. But y'all know I'm going to ride with my boy John Ross Plumlee and root for him.
Yeah, yeah, we like to hear that. Not we're not all agreeing on everything, so usually it's somewhat like that. But hey, we like to hear that, man. We'll take us off with this next game, man.
Yep. So we're going from AAC to ACC with this next one, and that is number 23 Florida State traveling up to upstate New York to take on the Syracuse Orange. Florida State is a 7-point favorite and 55% chance of winning. You have Jordan Travis with the Seminoles going 156 for 248, 20, just under 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns. 4 interception with 2 rushing touchdowns taken on Garrett Schrader, who's been putting on a quiet year so far. 129 for 192, 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 7 rushing touchdowns. We basically wrote off Syracuse at the start of the year, and they surprised us a lot by going undefeated. Ncaa, I believe, up to like 15 or 16 in the AP poll. And then they've kind of fallen off these last few games. They got blown out by Pitt this last week. Oh, excuse me. May not be cursed to a certain, one.
Yeah, to let you know, Coop, we don't mess with Big Game Boomer. I don't know if you see his like parts on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. He has a lot of hate and he's inconsistent all the time, so we don't mess with him.
Yeah, he basically was riding on Syracuse, and I think he's actually going up there this weekend. So that being said, I'm taking Florida State. I think, realistically talking, I think Florida State does have a better chance. Jordan Travis, Garrett Schrader is been really good, especially when they fixed the offensive line. Sean Tucker is having a really good year as well. Also, go to his Twitter after games; they were just like the funniest things ever. Ever he tweets like, fill in the blanks of kindergartner. Like, I think I did well in blank. I need to improve on blank. So if you want to laugh, go to his Twitter. But I'm taking the Noles in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take Florida State. They had a big win against LSU at the beginning of the season. They've lost close games and they've shown a lot of fight. Mike Norvell is doing a real good job this year with Florida State. In past years, people had him calling for his head coaching job, and he's trying to flip the switch this year. So I'm gonna have to go Florida State too. Jordan Travis has had a pretty good year. I wouldn't even say decent, pretty good year. And Florida State's been looking real good this year. Coop, how you feel about this game, man?
I'm feeling the same way y'all are. Syracuse is currently on a 3-game losing streak, and Florida State's on the opposite. Florida State did have that rough patch in their season where they had to play Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest, all those teams back to back to back, and they had chances to win all of those games, and they obviously fell short. Shout out Mike Norvell, former Memphis head coach, brought Memphis up to heights that they really have never seen before. And so I think he's also finally got this Florida State team showing some semblance of what they used to look like before Jimbo Fisher kind of ran them into the ground before he left and went to Texas A&M just to run them in the ground too. But 12-2 all time in favor of FSU. I got Florida State winning 38-24.
Yeah, I feel like it might be a harder game because you're in New York. It's fall. It's getting cold. So I can see it being a kind of a low scoring game, or maybe Florida State's prepared for it and they just turn up and show what the Florida State we've been seeing for the whole year. So I would love to watch this game this week, honestly. So next we have unranked Maryland going against number 14 Penn State. Penn State has been beaten down by the better teams in the Big Ten, but they are a 10.5 point favorite in this game. We have ex-Alabama backup Tulia Tagovailoa, brother of Tua, with 181 for 259, with 2,078 yards, 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 3 rushing touchdowns. And we have the super senior Sean Clifford, who's been there for a decade, with 162 for 257, with 2,045 yards, 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 4 rushing touchdowns. You know, it's hard to win in Penn State with a nice whiteout. I don't know if this game is a night game or not, but if it is, that makes it 10 times harder. I'm gonna have to go with the ranked Penn State because they've shown the past few games that they are top tier. They're not up there with Michigan and Ohio State, but they are right below them. Too bad that they are in a conference and on the same division as probably the best 2 teams in the nation. So I'm gonna go Penn State. Will.
Before we start, I just had to go back and look up Sean Tucker's last tweet from their loss. Verbatim. Saturday we lost. Syracuse 9, Pitt 19. I'm not pleased with the outcome of the game. Another bad day. I'm not pleased with my performance. Offense struggled and never got started. I'm back in the grind this week. I rushed for 19 yards, received for 3 yards.
Hey.
Hashtag please, with the ENA being a 34.
It sounds like his mom, he got in trouble with his mom and had to write a note to the teacher or something with that.
But this game is a 2:30 kickoff at Happy Valley. So, and they already had their white game, so they're not doing that.
They're not doing whiteouts on this game. Oh, my bad.
No, I think they use it for the Minnesota game early in the season. That's like an annual thing, but I actually do have a little bit of beef with Maryland. This was my dream school, and I got denied from there. But it's fine. It worked out at Bama.
Yeah.
But on the field, Penn State is just going to dominate. As much as I would love to see Talia perform, because it's to his younger brother, and he was at Alabama, and their head coach Mike Locksley was a former offensive coordinator at Alabama. Penn State is a 78% chance of winning, along with being a double-digit favorite. So I'm taking the Navy Lions in this one.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, Penn State has dominated this series, 41-3-1 all time in favor of Penn State. So Maryland does not win very often, but however, the last time they played at Penn State, Maryland won 35-19. So they did happen to win the last time they played in Penn State. Both of these offenses can be electric. Like you said, Sean Clifford's been there for 150 years, and he's still not beat Ohio State or Michigan. So, like, what's the point of him still coming back? But they found a wide receiver recently who's starting to play really well. They actually competed really well against Ohio State for a good margin of that game, but then that JT Tuamalu dude for Ohio State just took over and told Sean Clifford, "You're not winning this ball game." I think whoever's most opportunistic and creates turnovers will probably win this game because both of these offenses can get clicking and start just scoring at will. But sadly, I tried to find a way to pick Maryland, but I just could not come to it. I think Penn State wins by double digits.
Yeah. Hey, guys, it's the game of the week between our resident Ole Miss fan and my co-host, aka Big Will Royal, the Alabama fan. Will, I'm gonna let you take us with this game, man.
Yep. Alabama travels to Oxford to take on number 11 Ole Miss. Alabama currently sits as an 11.5-point favorite with a 75% chance of winning, according to ESPN. Bryce Young, the defending Heisman winner, is currently 171 for 272. Thanks, Bill. 2,200 yards with 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Again, he threw one in the red zone last week. Thanks, Bill. With 147 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Versus the USC transfer Jackson Dart going 132 for 216, 1,900 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 472 rushing yards. No, I don't think he had touchdowns. I'm going to go back and look. But this is something that Bama needs to pick up with, and that is the run defense. Because Ole Miss is a very much run-heavy team under Lane Kiffin. Judkins, he has 13 touchdowns with already over 1,000 yards on the ground. So I think if run defense can do their thing, they can pressure Dart to throw more, which I know Lane doesn't really want to do much of. But I think very rarely you see Alabama lose back-to-back games, knock on wood. But I'm taking the Tide, obviously, and maybe with an Arkansas win, this will help us get back into SEC contentions. But we're not going to go down that
route. Yeah, for me, well, we've talked about this. I didn't like how Jackson Dart was so hyped up as a quarterback prospect coming into Ole Miss this year. I highly think he's a little overrated. Sorry, Coop, but
oh, he is.
yeah. It's just something about when quarterbacks transfer from USC, they just become gods apparently because they transferred from USC. Even though it didn't work out there, why would it work out in the SEC? But that's beyond me, honestly. So yeah, I'm gonna go Alabama. Hey, Lane Kiffin might cook up some nice scheme. He has he's a former Alabama coach, OC. And he's been coaching Ole Miss pretty well his 3 years being there. And who knows if Jackson Dart could throw this game really well. Alabama's secondary is a little shaky. He's talked about that plenty of times on this podcast. So who knows? Maybe Ole Miss can run down Alabama's throat. I don't see it happening with Will Anderson on the line, but I can't wait to watch this game. It'll be one of the games that I will be watching this weekend. Coop, we got you on here to talk about this game. I want to hear what you got to say, man.
Yeah, so just from some fun stats. So since Jackson Dart's been alive, Ole Miss has only won 3 games against Alabama as opposed to and we've played 19. So we're 3-16 since Jackson Dart's birth. But since 2000, Ole Miss is 4-18 against the Crimson Tide. Ole Miss currently does have a 14-game home win streak coming into this game. So we play really well at home. The stadium's going to be juiced up. I was super disappointed that game day chose to go to Texas over going to the Grove because I think this game takes the cake over TCU Texas. No offense to TCU and Texas, but obviously there's a lot right in this game. Like he was talking about, if Alabama beats Ole Miss, that gives Ole Miss 2 SEC losses, and then they just got to root for Arkansas or Texas A&M to take over LSU so that they can get back into the SEC championship game. But just to kind of give some backstory, I've heard all week Paul Feinbaum running his mouth about how the dynasty's over in Alabama and all this nonsense. I'm sorry, that's a crock of crap. Alabama has lost 2 games on 2 plays. Literally, if their kicker kicks a field goal against Tennessee, they come out of kneeling, or they come out of they come out of Tennessee with a win. And if they stop them on this 2-point conversion, they come out of Baton Rouge with a win. These are 2 games that literally they had chances to win. And I'm sorry, Bryce Young is one of the best quarterbacks ever to come through Alabama, and I don't think I'm wild in saying that. So the fact that the dynasty is over is a crock of crap. And Lane Kiffin was very upset about it too because he said, stop giving the GOAT fuel. And so I am worried about Alabama coming off a loss. But I want to hit on Keyshawn Judkins. He's a true freshman playing for Ole Miss. He does have 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. He is from the state of Alabama. And Ole Miss has played 2 teams from Alabama, and Keyshawn Judkins has run all over those 2 teams. He is making sure to leave his mark on every single Alabama State team that we play. And I think he will have a play of this game with a chip on his shoulder. Alabama's defense is a tad vulnerable right now. And I think if we establish a run game, it can be a really long day for Alabama. I am a tad worried if the game turns into one where we have to find a way to use Jackson Dart's arm because I am, like you said, not a believer in his arm yet. I think he's an incredible runner, which is a dynamic versatility that brings to this offense because we need a running quarterback, but we also need someone who can actually complete throws down the field. That's why we got absolutely massacred by LSU because he could not. We started throwing the ball down the field, then we just couldn't do anything because he had no clue what he was doing. So I really hope it doesn't come down to his arm because we will lose by a gazillion and 4 if it does. but I'm thinking Ole Miss can control this game with their run and pass when they need to. Last time this game was a top 15 matchup at Ole Miss at 2:30 on CBS. Game day was there, and Katy Perry picked Ole Miss and ripped the elephant head off of Lee Corso, and Ole Miss went on to have one of the greatest days of my life and beat Alabama. And I think it happens again. I think 38-35 Ole Miss. Crazy game once again between Ole Miss and Alabama. Ole Miss has the SEC West on the line. And I think that they have a sneaky dark horse chance to potentially make the playoffs. I don't think it happens whatsoever. I'm only picking Ole Miss because they're my team right now. I do think we cover, but I do think Ole Miss can find a way to win this ball game on the legs of Keanshawn Judkins and Jackson Dart.
Hey, I noticed y'all do have one loss. I thought y'all had two for some reason, but yeah, y'all do have a sliver of a chance of making the playoffs just because of that one loss. If y'all win this game, y'all probably go up there to probably 6, I would say, depending on
probably
who else loses. But it's Heisman season, only a month away. And we have a Heisman watch list that I've gotten from some Instagram page. I'm not 100% sure. Let me shout them out. From SBE College Football. And we have the top 10 Heisman candidates to watch for. At number 1, we have CJ Stroud. At 2, we have Hendon Hooker. And at 3, we have Blake Corum. 4, we have Caleb Williams. 5, Stetson Bennett. Number 6, we have Bo Nix. 7, Drake May. Number 8, we have Jaden Daniels. Number 9, we have Bryce Young. And number 10, we have Max Duggan. For me, I would say my top 5 at the moment would probably be CJ Stroud at 1, Hendon Hooker for sure. I'm gonna put my boy Stetson Bennett. He doesn't have the arm. He doesn't have he does have the swagger with the mailman head, but he doesn't have the arm. He's not this like 1 in a million quarterback prospect, but he is a gamer and he knows how to win big games. So I'm gonna have him at number 3. I'm gonna have to put my guy Max Duggan up there too at 4. People are sleeping on him for some reason, and I'm gonna put a pretty controversial, even though he's had a pretty good season. I'm gonna put Jaden Daniels at 5 for me. Even though Blake Corum, I could have him up there too because he's been balling out in Michigan. But Jaden Daniels, even though I hate LSU and I hate Brian Kelly, I actually like this guy. He leading the team in rushing yards and leading the team in passing yards. So I'm gonna put him up there at 5. Will, how does your top 5 look?
So the thing about the Heisman is I think now it's more or less just a quarterback competition because since 2010, only 2 quarterbacks have won, and that was Derrick Henry and Devontae Smith, both from Alabama. But so as much as I would love to see a running back in Blake Corum be the Heisman winner, I don't think it's necessarily possible. But I'm gonna agree with you on the top 2, CJ Stroud and then Hendon Hooker at 2. 3, I don't know. I want to say I don't know if I want to put Stetson Bennett up there because I'm kind of just a little biased on that just because I'm not into the hype with Stetson Bennett. So I'm gonna say just because what he did to us, I'm gonna say Jaden Daniels at 3. 4, I'm gonna have Bo Nix because he's been like quietly good, like I mentioned earlier in this episode. And then at 5, I'm gonna have I'm gonna put Blake Corum just to show the non-QB love up there. As much as I'd love to put Bryce up there, he did sit out a game against A&M with injury. He hasn't really been the same since the injury, and the devil with the butt chin is just overworking him now. So as much as I would really love to see Bryce go back up to New York next month, I don't think it's a realistic chance now. Yeah. But and then on my outside looking in, I would have Max Duggan at 6, and then I would have Bryce at 7.
Yeah. Coop, do you have a Heisman top 5?
Yeah, I just wrote one down real quick, but I gotta mention, dude, your Bill O'Brien hatred absolutely kills me. I think that is hysterical. Because I totally forget he's there, but that killed me. I gotta agree with you on the top two
I'm a
odds.
Texans fan as well. Like I've gone through that hell for years.
Fair enough. There it is. I was wondering why you hated him so hard. I was like, damn, he just woke up hating Bill O'Brien. Like, but the Texans' hatred, I think they ruined him by telling him you're the GM and the head coach. But that's my opinion. But
Oh yeah, no,
now I understand.
Arona sucks. Arona is the worst.
Fair enough. But no, I got the same top two as y'all. I really think it's theirs to lose at this point. Obviously, I think CJ Stroud is just narrowing out Hendon Hooker right now due to the fact that he has the undefeated record. And Hendon did not look incredible against Georgia, but clearly nobody has except for Missouri for some ungodly reason. But I think it's CJ Stroud and Hendon Hooker's to lose. I think they both have really easy matchups this week. Obviously, weather impending because CJ Stroud played in a torrential monsoon last week. But I think Hendon Hooker is the guy that I'm looking to win that. Just because I mean he's been on a tear the entire season, and I think the one loss should not affect him too bad. And he also gets to play Missouri, South Carolina, and Vandy to finish off the year, so he could easily stack up another 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns if he really wanted to. But they probably won't do that because he'll probably get to sit after halftime because they're going to be waxing these teams. But so CJ Stroud at 1 and Hendon Hooker at 2. I got Bo Nix at 3. Bo Nix is ever since that first game of the year against Georgia, he has been awesome. I don't know if I still fully believe all the hype around the fact that people are saying he could be an NFL quarterback yet. I think he's played awesome, and I think it's just showing how bad Auburn has been the last few years,
Yeah.
how well he's playing at Oregon. But we do have to take into consideration, I mean, they're waxing teams. Like, he is just dogging some teams. He's catching passes for touchdowns. He's running for touchdowns. He's throwing for touchdowns. He has looked awesome, but I do think he's just a tad behind CJ Stroud and Hendon Hooker. And then at 4, I have a guy that y'all both put in there. Jaden Daniels, since that Tennessee loss, has been on an absolute tear. In the Florida game, I think he had 5 touchdowns combined, rushing and passing. Against Ole Miss, I know for a fact he had like 5 touchdowns rushing because we could not stop him. And then obviously, big game against Alabama this past weekend. And I think he's going to continue because they've just kind of hit their stride and he does not turn the football over whatsoever. And then at 5, a guy that neither of y'all mentioned, I'll put Caleb Williams. USC is obviously a team that a lot of us do not watch because they start playing at 10 o'clock at night when I'm about to fall asleep. So none of us watch them, but Caleb Williams is such a sound quarterback. I mean, watching him is like watching poetry in motion. He is truly an incredible quarterback. And I wanted to put Stetson Bennett to shout out my co-host and my partner in crime, Jack Hampton, because he picked Stetson Bennett at the beginning of the year. Obviously, Stetson Bennett has no shot of winning the Heisman, and it was bullcrap when he said it. But hey, I'm gonna give Stetson Bennett a shout out because my boy Jack Hampton said Stetson Bennett.
Hey, he could. I don't know. I just feel like, well, he kind of has the same problem that like Deshaun Watson had. Like, there's so many good quarterbacks playing with him or good candidates playing with him. It's hard for him to be that guy, and he doesn't just flash off the screen as a Heisman candidate would. So I agree with you. He probably has no shot of winning. But hey, I know Jack probably has a gun pointed at you saying Hendon Hooker is going to win it. Jack, I see you behind the camera, man.
He can't even hear me right now, which is even funnier.
But hey, Coop, you have anything else for us?
No, I'm glad y'all let me on. Y'all know I'll be watching that Ole Miss Alabama game pretty tight, and I'll be texting you, Bryce. Just especially if Ole Miss is winning, I'll be blowing you up. But no, I'm so glad to be here, and I'll be supporting y'all. Y'all got a supporter in me, so glad y'all brought me on, and looking forward to this college football weekend, man.
Hey, thank you, Coop. Thanks for coming on. Hey, I will talk to you soon. But thank you for another episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. See you later.
Before we go, I want to close things off with a winning tweet from Sean Tucker, so we know what like.
All right. let's see what you got, Will.
Yeah, a good way to end the episode. Saturday we won Syracuse 24, NC State 9. I'm pleased with the outcome of the game and how our fans rocked the dome 6-0, but we're not done. I'm pleased with the performance, but there's still more I can do. The grind never stops, nor will number 34. 14 carries for 98 yards and a touchdown, 4 receiving for 14 yards. Hashtag please.
Bro, he sounds like he's writing a love letter to his mistress in the 1700s or something.
He really does. It's bad.
We should have done this at the start of the season if I knew.
Yeah, we really should have. Each week, just read one of his tweets. That would be funny.
We'll do that after Tuesday's episode.
Yeah.
Given the outcome.
Yeah, we definitely will. All right. See y'all later, man.
Uses.